Alright, welcome back to my terrible channel. The last novella I read was a schlocky space adventure by the name of The Worst Ship in the Fleet by Skylar Ramirez. Starring generic space captain and his Asian friend Lynn, and yes, he reminds you she is Asian within the first page. This is vitally important information. Anyway, after the events of the first novella, our heroes have changed their names to Ben Lopez and Jennifer Kim. Surely no way anyone will ever see through their clever disguises. At the very least, they got a little freighter named the Wanderer out of their little previous misadventure. This misadventure starts with our plucky heroes heading out to start their new lives. And don't worry, our heroes are sure to mention the exact height, in centimeters, of his gorgeous companion. Still wait to see how that will, factor into the narrative. Showing up at a station to start their new lives as cargo haulers, our heroes soon start running into problems. For example, technically speaking, they stole the ship they were on, which means they don't actually have the registration for it. And even if they did, they don't actually have bonding with any of the shipping organizations this universe apparently requires. Which, you know what? Kudos for an author pointing out that no, planets aren't just going to let random tramp freighters fly around and just land and do business wherever they want. Any sort of organized planetary system is going to require you have documentation. But not to worry. Our heroes are quickly approached by a nervous man that wants to hire them to take them 2 jumps away from their current location. The first jump being to stop at a system and pick up his cargo. Nothing suspicious about that at all. Especially since that system is the farthest one out of the way that you could stop on the way to his final destination. The sort of place no one who should really want to be going to. At least that's how it's presented. He also brings 3 friends along, the most physically imposing of the lot being Big Brute, because obviously, if you're a big guy, you gotta be big and brutish, man. What else can you be? Though his boss, Owen, the one that approached our heroes to start with, assures that there won't be any trouble, which we all know, of course, means there will be trouble, but, it's nice of him to at least try. To their credit, our heroes arrange shifts, with one of them, staying in the bridge at all times, while the others dealing with the guests, which, actually smart. I was kind of surprised that, Ben, as our captain is going by, could figure that much out. I guess he's not a complete moron. Although you will doubt that at various points through this novella. Alright, we also, I won't say we learn that he's in love with Jessica Lynn. That was pretty obvious beforehand. But his narration finally says it. In case you hadn't picked up on those subtle cues that had been placed up until that point. Anyway, now this next part is going to shock you. It turns out that the 4 suspicious characters that hired themselves out onto an unregistered freighter, they had ill intentions. Can you believe it? Doom, insert doom. This is not a spoiler, by the way. This is obviously the route the story was going to go. Forced by their captors to help flush out a traitor in the system they're heading for. And this is where the story almost lost me, is at this point. Alright, they end up going to a fancy casino because the guy they're looking for that is supposedly there. Like, are we serious? At some point, this story took a wrong turn, and we ended up in one of the new Star Wars movies. Although, you know what? The novella isn't actually that bad. Our lead character is kind of bad, but, more accurately, he's an idiot. Which actually kind of works. It helps the other characters to shine. Plus, our heroic captain occasionally surprises us. I would say maybe about 2/3 of the way through the novella until we actually hit my first real complaint. You know, I could ignore the whole casino bit, but the mark supposedly had a rose pinned to his lapel. Like, really? Really? We're cribbing ideas straight out of Star Wars, which in fairness cribbed them from countless noir dramas before that. I mean, come on, guys. There's putting allusions to pop culture in your stuff, and then there's just not being as creative as you think you are. I mean, I have no doubt I've done that in my own writings. You know what? It's fine. The story quickly moves to a more traditional sci-fi scene, where the showdown with their captors unfolds. I'm not going to go into graphic detail here. We try not to do spoilers here. Just know our plucky captain, full of guile, manages to turn the tables on his captors. And this is actually where that ingenuity hinted at before actually starts to show through. Though, and this is a big complaint, the fact that our hero actually survives and wins the day is helped along by Owen, the leader of the captors, suddenly becoming a moron. And you know what? If you want to have an idiot villain, that's fine. But up until this point, from our hero's viewpoint, this is first-person narration, nothing about Owen had indicated he was the type to make what I would consider a very, very basic mistake in a science fiction setting. Right? It involves zero G, and that's all I'm going to say. Right? I don't like it when the hero prevails, not simply through his own action, but by his opponent being a moron. All right? But you know what? That's just a personal nitpick I have. Like I said, the captain actually did show some cleverness in his other actions. So he's growing as a character somewhat. He's not like it's not that he's like he's not a cardboard cutout. There actually is some soul to the character. Overall, this was another fun adventure, one tied into the action of the previous novella, and the last couple of pages set up the third. So you know what, this episodic storyline is actually working for me. I kind of like it. Check it out. I hope you like it too.